Show you a few more things that you can do to play around with your type for this project. I've got three examples of the type out here. I'm going to go ahead and select this first topmost example. And let's put an effect on this type. If we go up under Effect and go down here, you'll see there are Illustrator effects and then there are Photoshop effects. The difference being these are vector effects in Illustrator because Illustrator is a vector program. These are raster effects that because Photoshop is a raster, it's pixel based as opposed to a vector based kind of program here. Let's go ahead and open the effect gallery for this. I'm going to increase the size of that by doing Command plus just so that we can see it. And you can see I've already got plastic wrap selected, so it's gone ahead and put that effect on that type. I can manipulate different aspects of that here, how smooth it is, how much detail is involved, and the amount of highlight to that. And there's so many different things we can do here. Many times you are keeping the type color, but not always, right? So we can get some different appeal, uh, different appeals to that. Just go ahead and go with this one. We're going to actually turn down the glow on this, turn up the graininess just a bit, and say okay. So there's our type, right? Now, one of the things that's happening here is this is an effect that's put on top of this type here. I can still go in, I'm going to double click on this and select that and change the type some, and that is perfectly fine. If I go to Command Y, you'll see that what I've done is just gone to the outline view. It's just type. You don't see any impact of that effect at all. It is literally just an effect put on top of the type. If I were to go to Object Expand here, and I will do that, if I do Command Y and toggle back to the outline view, you'll see there's no outline there anymore because what it's done is it's changed this into a raster here. It's no longer a vector. I can't change this type. I couldn't change the font or anything else about it. It's more or less made that permanent. I'm going to select that again and do a Command 2, which will lock it. You'll find that under Object and Lock, and you can see that Option Shift 2 is an unlock all. Okay, let's do something with this example. With this one, let's go ahead and do an Illustrator effect on it. So let's do something like a zigzag distort on there. We'll get our dialog box up. We can say what size we want that to be, right? Whether it's relative to each one, each effect, each zigzag is relative to each other, or whether it's absolute. How many ridges per segment, right? So this is another way to play around with that, whether they're smooth or they're corner. Say okay. Notice too, again, Command Y, we'll look at it in outline, it is still just type. And if we wanted to change that, we could do that. Let's change it to a different font. Let's go to Marinello here. I'm going to go ahead and close that. Command Y, and you'll see that now that's doing it to that entire font. Still, it's just a different font. So that works just fine. Here, I'm going to do a Command Z, go back to the Cooper Black example, and let's go ahead and do an expand on that and see what happens. So we do that expand, we go to Command Y, and we'll see that this is actually still a vector. We can still manipulate the type, but because it's been expanded, I can no longer change like the spelling or the font. These are just vector shapes now. They're not actual type as far as Illustrator is concerned. Okay, let's do that. We'll lock that one, Command 2. And let's go ahead and put some texture in this one. To create that texture, what I think I'll do is get my brush and I'll add some brush strokes. I'll go ahead and change the fill on the brush to negative, no fill, and I'll go ahead and put some color in it. Let's go with this red color here, right? Now I want to see what kind of brush I'm using here. It's right here, and you'll see I get some other of the brushes that I've been using, or I can go to this pull down menu here to get more brushes. You can also find that menu. If you go under window, you can find brushes and pull that up as a separate window and open things like a new brush library. Let's go into artistic and chalk / charcoal pencil here. I'm going to select this top one here, and then I'll close that. I've got that brush selected. I've got this color selected. I'm going to just draw on top of that. Okay. One of the things to note about these vector brushes, if I draw this line down and I draw a similar line, you'll notice that these are almost identical because the line lengths are the same. If I draw a longer line, I have the same brush stroke, but now it's stretched out. Okay, and that's just the nature of vector brushes. If I draw a super long line, then I'm going to have that same brush stroke, but now it's going to be super stretched out that way. So that's just one of those things that you need to know about the brush strokes, because when I go to Command Y, you'll see that that is literally a stroke, just like if you had drawn it with your pen tool or with your pencil. It's a stroke there. And it's a stroke that has a brush effect on it. Now I can go and increase the size of that stroke if I want to, or something along those lines as well, right? So just keep that in mind when you're working with the brushes. I'm going to go in and create some more here. I want to create some different looks, maybe add a little bit more because I know that I'm going to be coloring in where this type is. Right. Now I'm going to use the letter forms as a clipping mask for this. In order to do that, I need to have the thing that's going to be the mask be on top. So what I'll do is I'm going to do Command Y again so I get to it really easily, and I'll select that type, Command Y, and then I'm going to arrange, bring that type to front, right? Now the type's on top. I can select all those things, and I will go to Object, Clipping Mask, Make. And now all of those strokes are contained inside the letter forms. Now you might note, again, I'll do Command Y so I can see it, the strokes existing outside the clipping mask are still there, right? So that's still there. Matter of fact, if I want to move one of those strokes, the way to do that would be to hit Isolate Mask, and then I can take a stroke and move it if I need to do some additional changes, right? Let me show you. Here it is here, and I want to change it down to there if I'd like. Okay, let's go ahead and get out of that view and go to Command Y, and you'll see some different kinds of patterns and textures that I've been able to apply to this type.